Ambassador Sarah walked through the massive corridors of Nexus Prime, her footsteps echoing against the polished crystal walls. The space station was enormous, bigger than Earth's moon, floating at the center of the galaxy like a shining jewel. But Sarah felt no wonder anymore. After 3 years of working here, she only felt tired and angry. The Galaxy Council thought they owned everything. For thousands of years, 12 ancient alien races had ruled over all other species in the galaxy. They made the laws. They decided who could travel where. They controlled who got resources and who went hungry. And they treated everyone else like stupid children who needed constant watching. Sarah stopped at the main council chamber doors. They were 30 feet tall and covered in symbols from all 12 ruling species. The guards, tall blue creatures with 4 arms, looked down at her with obvious disgust. She was human, which meant she was nothing to them. "Ambassador here for the daily briefing," she said, holding up her identification card. One guard took the card and studied it for a long time, even though he had seen it every day for 3 years. "Wait here, primitive," he said in broken English. Sarah bit her tongue. Getting angry would not help Earth. Her job was to smile, nod, and try to protect humanity's interests, but it was getting harder every day. The doors opened, and she entered the massive chamber. 12 different alien species sat on floating platforms arranged in a circle. At the center was High Counselor, a being made of living crystal that sparkled with its own light. Next to him floated Ethereal Prime, a creature of pure energy that hurt to look at directly. "Ah, the human arrives," said. His voice sounded like breaking glass. "You are late." Sarah checked her watch. She was exactly on time, but arguing was pointless. "My apologies, High Counselor. How may Earth serve the Council today?" Several council members made sounds that might have been laughter. Earth had been in the Galaxy Council for 50 years now, ever since humans had invented faster-than-light travel, but they were still considered a probationary species. This meant they had to follow orders but had almost no voice in making decisions. "The Council has received disturbing reports," Ethereal Prime said. Its voice was like wind through metal. "Human ships have been detected in restricted sectors." Sarah's heart jumped, but she kept her face calm. "All human vessels follow approved travel routes, Ethereal Prime. Perhaps there was a navigation error." "Navigation error," repeated. "How convenient. This is the 15th navigation error this year." The truth was that Earth had been pushing boundaries for months. Human explorers were mapping systems the Council claimed were off-limits. Scientists were studying ancient ruins the Council said were too dangerous. And yes, sometimes they got caught. "Furthermore," continued a slug-like being called Slug Prime, "human mining operations have exceeded approved quotas by 12%. "Earth's population is growing," Sarah said. "We need more resources to feed our people." "Then perhaps your people should stop breeding so rapidly," suggested another council member. This got more laughter from the group. Sarah felt heat rise in her cheeks. The alien races in the council were ancient and stable. Most had populations that barely changed over centuries. They did not understand that humans were different. Humans grew, explored, built, and dreamed of better futures. "The Council will consider new resource limits for Earth," announced. "Until then, human mining operations will be reduced by 30%. "High Counselor, that would cause serious problems for Earth's colonies," Sarah protested. "Then perhaps Earth should not have so many colonies," Ethereal Prime said coldly. This was how every meeting went. The Council found new ways to limit humanity's growth and expansion. They claimed it was for the good of galactic stability, but Sarah knew the truth. They were afraid. Humans had gone from discovering fire to traveling between stars in just 10,000 years. The Council species had taken millions of years to achieve the same progress. Some of them had not invented new technology in centuries. They were old, comfortable, and scared of change. "There is one more matter," said. The crystal being's light grew brighter. Council security forces have detected unusual energy signatures from human space. Are you developing new technologies without Council approval? Sarah's mouth went dry. This was the question she had been dreading. Earth scientists are always working on improvements to our existing technology, nothing that violates Council law. See that it stays that way, warned. The Council has rules about dangerous technologies for good reason. Younger species often create weapons that threaten galactic peace. Of course, High Counselor. But even as Sarah spoke the words, she knew Earth was walking a dangerous line. Back home, human scientists and engineers were working on projects that would make the Council very angry if they knew about them. Advanced weapons, new types of ships, technologies that the Council claimed were forbidden. The meeting continued for another hour. The Council issued new restrictions on human trade routes. They demanded detailed reports about every human settlement. They questioned every decision Earth made. Finally, Sarah was dismissed. She walked back through the crystal corridors, nodding politely to aliens who looked at her like she was something they had scraped off their shoes. In her small quarters, Sarah activated a secure communication system. The screen showed Admiral Stone sitting in his office on Luna Station, orbiting Earth's moon. "Admiral," she said quietly. "Ambassador, how bad was it today?" "Getting worse. They're asking about energy signatures, and they want to cut our mining operations by 30%. Admiral Stone was a big man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been fighting for humanity's future longer than almost anyone. "They're trying to strangle us slowly," he said. "Death by 1,000 cuts." "The Council thinks we're children who need constant supervision," Sarah said. "They have no idea what we're really capable of." "Good," the Admiral said. "Let them keep thinking that. Are you ready for what's coming?" Sarah took a deep breath. She knew that Earth was preparing for something big, something that would change everything. "I'm ready, Admiral, but I hope it doesn't come to that." "So do I," Admiral Stone said. "But if it does, remember that every human in the galaxy is counting on us. The Council thinks they can control us forever. They're about to learn how wrong they are." The communication ended. Sarah sat alone in her small room, surrounded by the power and arrogance of the Galaxy Council. But she was not afraid. She was human, and humans never stayed down for long. 3 weeks after Sarah's meeting with the Council, everything changed. High Counselor stood before a massive holographic display showing the outer rim of human space. Red dots marked dozens of locations where Council spy ships had detected unusual activity. What they had found made even the ancient crystal being feel something like fear. "Show them again," commanded. The hologram shifted to show grainy images from a remote star system. What looked like asteroids suddenly unfolded into massive structures. Ships that seemed civilian revealed hidden weapon systems. And in several locations, energy readings showed technology that should not exist. "Quantum manipulation devices," reported the Council's chief science officer, "a floating brain in a tank called gravity field generators, weapons that could tear apart space itself." Ethereal Prime's energy form crackled with anger. "The humans have been lying to us for years." Around the Council chamber, representatives from 12 ancient species murmured in alarm. The war leaders hissed through their sharp teeth. The machine beings called constructs processed data with angry clicking sounds. Even the peaceful flower people rustled their petals in distress. "How long have they been building these weapons?" asked Slug Prime. "Our analysis suggests at least 15 years, replied. "Possibly longer. They have hidden their true capabilities very well." His crystal body blazed brighter. 15 years. The humans had been building secret armies for 15 years while pretending to be helpless newcomers. They had smiled and nodded and followed Council orders while secretly preparing for war. "There is more," continued. We have detected at least 40 hidden military bases throughout human space. Each one is heavily defended and contains enough firepower to threaten entire star systems. The council chamber erupted in angry voices. Some council members demanded immediate action. Others wanted to gather more information. The war leaders were already talking about mobilizing their fleets. But High Counselor raised one crystal hand, and silence fell. "The situation is clear," he said slowly. "Humanity has violated the most sacred laws of the Galaxy Council. They have developed forbidden technologies. They have built secret armies. They have lied to us for years." "What do you propose?" asked the construct representative, its mechanical voice showing no emotion. "The same thing we have done to every species that threatened galactic peace," replied. "Complete sterilization." Even in a chamber full of ancient, powerful beings, those words created a moment of shocked silence. Sterilization meant killing every human on every world. It meant wiping out Earth and all its colonies. It meant genocide. "The Omega Protocol," whispered one of the flower people. "Yes," said firmly. "Humanity cannot be allowed to threaten the stability we have maintained for. They are too dangerous to be reformed, too aggressive to be contained. They must be eliminated." Ethereal Prime's energy form pulsed with agreement. "I second the motion. The humans have shown they cannot be trusted." One by one, the council members voted. They voted yes eagerly. The constructs voted yes with cold logic. The slug beings voted yes out of fear. Even the peaceful flower people voted yes, convinced that humanity was too dangerous to live. Only the floating jellyfish creatures called drifters voted no. They were immediately overruled. "It is decided," announced. "Judgment Protocol 7 is now active. The Omega Fleet will be dispatched to begin sterilization operations in 72 hours. The Omega Fleet was the Council's ultimate weapon. 200 massive warships, each one capable of destroying entire planets. They had never failed to eliminate a rebellious species. They had burned dozens of worlds over always in the name of galactic peace. "Should we inform the humans?" asked Slug Prime. Considered this. Council law required a formal declaration before sterilization began. It was one of their oldest traditions. "Yes," he decided. "Give them 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. When they refuse, as they surely will, we will proceed with their extinction." "And the human ambassador?" asked. "Let her stay. She can watch her species die knowing that human arrogance brought this upon them." 20 minutes later, Sarah was summoned to the council chamber. She had no idea why. The summons had been urgent and formal, using language she had never seen before. When the chamber doors opened, she saw that every council member was present. Their floating platforms were arranged in a perfect circle, with her standing alone at the center. The lights were dim except for crystal glow. "Ambassador," said formally, "you are here to witness Judgment Protocol 7. Sarah had never heard of Judgment Protocol 7. "I don't understand." "Your species has been found guilty of developing forbidden technologies and preparing for unprovoked war against the Galaxy Council," Ethereal Prime announced. Sarah's heart stopped. They knew. Somehow they had discovered Earth's secret preparations. "I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding," she said quickly. "Earth has always followed Council law." "Lies," said coldly. "We have evidence of 40 hidden military bases. We know about your quantum weapons. We know about your gravity bombs. We know everything." The holographic display activated, showing images of human technology that made Sarah's blood run cold. They had found the secret facilities. They knew about Project Phoenix. They knew about the weapons that could crack planets in half. "The Council has decided," continued. "Humanity will be completely eliminated. All human worlds will be sterilized. Your species will cease to exist in 72 hours. Sarah staggered backward. "You can't be serious. You're talking about genocide, about killing billions of innocent people." "Innocent?" Ethereal Prime laughed, a sound like breaking wind chimes. "Your species has been planning war for years. You have built weapons that could destroy entire star systems. You are anything but innocent." "This message is being broadcast to every human world," announced. "Your leaders have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. They must disable all weapons, abandon all military bases, and submit to total council control. If they refuse, the Omega Fleet will begin sterilization operations." Sarah felt tears on her face. "Please, there has to be another way. Humans aren't evil, we're just trying to protect ourselves." "Protection," Slug Prime oozed forward. "You have built enough weapons to threaten the entire galaxy. What were you protecting against?" "You," Sarah said quietly. "We were protecting against you." The council chamber filled with angry sounds, but raised his hand again. "Your honesty is refreshing, Ambassador, but it changes nothing. The Omega Fleet is already moving. In 3 days, humanity will be nothing but a memory." The holographic display shifted to show massive warships leaving Nexus Prime. 200 of them, each one a kilometer long and bristling with planet-killing weapons. They moved in perfect formation, heading for human space. "You have 1 hour," repeated. "Use it wisely." Sarah was escorted from the chamber by the blue guards. As the massive doors closed behind her, she heard speaking to the other council members. "Let this serve as a reminder to all lesser species. The council's will is absolute. Those who challenge us will be destroyed completely and without mercy." In her quarters, Sarah activated her emergency communicator with shaking hands. Admiral Stone's face appeared on the screen, but his expression was calm. "They know," Sarah said through her tears. "They know everything. They're sending the Omega Fleet to kill everyone." Admiral Stone nodded slowly. "We've been monitoring their communications. The fleet launched 20 minutes ago." "Admiral, they're going to murder billions of people. Men, women, children, everyone." "I know," Admiral Stone said quietly. "The Council just made the biggest mistake in galactic history." "What do you mean?" "They think they're hunters and we're prey," the Admiral said. "They're about to learn which one of us is really the predator." Admiral Stone sat in his command center deep beneath Luna Station. The room was dark except for the soft glow of dozens of displays showing every corner of human space. His staff moved quietly around him, their faces serious but not panicked. They had been preparing for this day for 20 years. "Omega Fleet position?" Stone asked. 12 hours out from the edge of human space," reported Lieutenant Commander Torres. "They're not even trying to hide, moving in a straight line, broadcasting their intentions on all channels." "Arrogant to the end," Stone murmured. "Have they responded to our surrender deadline?" "Earth government sent a formal refusal 5 minutes ago," said Commander Park. "They told the Council that humanity would never surrender to genocide." Stone nodded. That was what he expected. The Galaxy Council thought they were dealing with the same helpless humans who had first stumbled into space 50 years ago. They had no idea how much had changed. "All stations report ready, Admiral," Torres said. "Project Phoenix is fully operational." Stone stood up from his chair. Around him, displays showed the real state of human defenses. What the Council thought they had discovered was just the tip of the iceberg. The 40 military bases they had found were decoys, meant to be discovered. The real human fleet was hidden in places the Council couldn't imagine. "Begin Phase 1, Stone ordered. "Activate all sleeper ships." Across human space, things began to change. On the edge of the Alpha system, a mining station that had been pulling ore from asteroids for 30 years suddenly stopped its work. Giant panels on its hull slid open, revealing weapon systems that could crack moons in half. The station's gravity generators, which had seemed designed for mining, shifted configuration. They were really weapons that could tear apart space itself. In the Vega system, a scientific research vessel studying solar flares shed its innocent disguise. The ship's hull separated into 12 different sections, each one a warship more advanced than anything in the Galaxy Council's fleet. Its crew of researchers were actually some of humanity's most dangerous military specialists. Near the edge of Council space, a human trade convoy suddenly stopped moving. The cargo ships opened like flowers, revealing that each one contained a squadron of fighters equipped with quantum torpedoes. The convoy's escort of 2 small patrol ships unfolded into massive battleships that had been hiding their true size with projection fields. And in Earth's asteroid belt, mining robots that had been working quietly for decades revealed their true purpose. They had not been mining normal ore. They had been building a massive weapons platform inside the largest asteroid, hidden so well that even human civilians didn't know it existed. "All Phoenix assets are online," Commander Park reported. "We have full stealth coverage across 47 star systems." Stone smiled grimly. The Council thought they were master strategists who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, but they had never dealt with humans before. They didn't understand that humans were born survivors who planned for the worst possible outcomes. "Phase 2, Stone ordered. "Activate the ghost ships." This was humanity's greatest secret. For 15 years, human engineers had been building ships that existed in quantum-fold space. They could travel instantly between any 2 points in the galaxy without using normal space lanes. The Council didn't know this technology existed because humans had never used it where anyone could see. On the displays, new contacts began appearing throughout the galaxy. Ships that had been hiding in quantum-fold space for years suddenly became visible as they prepared to enter normal space. They appeared near Council military bases, near important trade routes, near the home worlds of Council species. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Torres, "how many ships do we really have?" "More than the Council," Stone said simply. "Much more." The truth was that humanity had been preparing for galactic war since the day they first met the Council. Human leaders had looked at the arrogant, ancient aliens and realized they would never accept humanity as an equal. So while Council species rested on their old victories, humans had been working. Human scientists had developed technologies the Council thought were impossible. Human engineers had built weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Human strategists had planned for every possible conflict scenario, and human shipyards had been building in secret for decades. "Sir," Commander Park said quietly, "the Council doesn't know what they're facing, do they?" "No," Stone said. "They think we're the same primitive species that crawled out of Earth 50 years ago. They have no idea we've been evolving." While other species had spent centuries perfecting old technologies, humans had been inventing completely new ones. While Council races had focused on maintaining their empires, humans had focused on survival and growth. While ancient aliens had become comfortable with their power, humans had stayed hungry and desperate. "Admiral," Torres reported, "we're getting communications from our deep cover assets." Stone nodded. Humanity had not just built secret fleets. They had also placed agents throughout Council space. Humans who had lived among alien species for years, learning their weaknesses, mapping their defenses, and preparing for this day. "What are they reporting?" "Council homeworlds are completely undefended. They moved all their military assets to the Omega Fleet. Their planets have only civilian populations and minimal security forces." Stone felt a cold satisfaction. The Council had made the same mistake that overconfident generals had been making throughout human history. They had put all their strength in one place, leaving themselves vulnerable everywhere else. "Phase 3, he ordered. "Begin infiltration protocols." The displays showed human ships moving into position throughout Council space. Ships that had been disguised as traders and explorers suddenly revealed advanced stealth systems. Human agents on alien worlds began activating hidden weapons caches. Research stations that had seemed harmless started broadcasting jamming signals that would blind Council communications. "Admiral," said a voice from the main communications station, "we have Ambassador on priority channel." Sarah's face appeared on the main screen. She was still on Nexus Prime, still surrounded by the aliens who thought they were about to destroy her species. "Admiral, the Council is celebrating," she said quietly. "They think they've already won. They're talking about how to divide up human territory after we're all dead." "Let them celebrate," Stone said. "Sarah, you've done an incredible job. Your intelligence reports made all of this possible." For 3 years, Sarah had been more than just an ambassador. She had been a spy, gathering information about Council defenses, learning about their technology, and reporting on their strategies. The Council had thought they were watching her. They had no idea she was watching them. "How long until the Omega fleet reaches Earth?" Sarah asked. 6 hours, Stone replied, "but they won't make it that far." "Admiral, there are billions of people on Council worlds, civilians who have nothing to do with this war." Stone's expression softened. This was the difference between humans and the Council. The aliens were willing to commit genocide without hesitation. Humans still worried about innocent lives. "We're not like them, Sarah," he said. "We don't murder civilians. Our targets are military only, the Council leadership and their fleets." "What do you need me to do?" "Stay safe. Document everything. When this is over, the galaxy will need to know what really happened here." Stone cut the connection and turned to his staff. "All units, this is Admiral Stone. Execute Contingency Phoenix. Show the Council what happens when you threaten humanity's children." Across the galaxy, the real human fleet began to move. High Counselor was reviewing casualty projections when the first reports started coming in. "High Counselor," the communications officer called out, his voice shaking. "We're receiving distress signals from the Outer Rim Defense Fleet." His crystal form flickered with mild interest. "What kind of distress signals?" "Sir, they're under attack. The entire fleet is under attack." That got full attention. The Outer Rim Defense Fleet was positioned 3 star systems away from human space. It consisted of 50 heavy cruisers and was meant to cut off any human ships that tried to escape the coming slaughter. "Under attack by what?" demanded. "Human ships couldn't possibly reach that position so quickly." The communications officer worked frantically at his console. "Sir, I'm trying to establish contact, but all I'm getting is weapons fire and screaming." On the main display, static-filled images appeared from the defense fleet. What they showed made even the ancient Council leader feel fear. Massive human warships were emerging from empty space itself, appearing directly in the middle of the Council formation. These weren't the small, primitive vessels the Council had been tracking. These were kilometer-long death machines covered in weapons that shouldn't exist. "How is this possible?" Ethereal Prime demanded, its energy form crackling with shock. "They don't have ships that large." "Apparently they do," said grimly. The images on screen showed Council ships trying to return fire, but their energy beams passed harmlessly through the human vessels. The human ships seemed to flicker in and out of reality, existing in normal space only long enough to fire their weapons. And what weapons they were! One human ship fired what looked like a small projectile at a Council cruiser. When it hit, the entire ship simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, gone, erased from reality as if it had never been built. "Quantum torpedoes," whispered. "They're firing weapons that unmake matter at the subatomic level." Another human ship fired beams of twisted light at 3 Council vessels. The beams wrapped around the ships like rope, then contracted. The Council ships were crushed into tiny balls of superdense metal in seconds. "Gravity manipulation," continued, his brain tank bubbling with fear. "They're using artificial black holes as weapons." Within 2 minutes, the entire Outer Rim defense fleet was gone. 50 ships and 30,000 crew members, eliminated without inflicting a single casualty on the attackers. "Sir," the communications officer said, his voice barely a whisper, "we're getting reports from 7 other sectors. Human fleets are attacking everywhere." The main display shifted to show a galaxy-wide tactical map. Red warning lights were appearing throughout Council space. Human attack forces were striking at military bases, weapons platforms, and command centers across dozens of star systems. "This is impossible," Slug Prime said, his body trembling with fear. "Our intelligence reports showed only 40 hidden bases. This must be hundreds of ships." "Thousands," corrected. "I'm reading at least 3,000 human vessels currently engaged in combat operations." Stared at the display in growing horror. The humans had not just been hiding their technology. They had been hiding an entire shadow fleet larger than anything the Council possessed. "What about the home fleets?" he demanded. "The 7th Fleet is gone," the communications officer reported. "The construct defense grid has gone silent. The ethereal home guard is requesting immediate reinforcements." "How long ago did these attacks begin?" asked. 3 minutes and 40 seconds ago, sir." 3.5 minutes. In 3.5 minutes, humanity had crippled the entire Council military structure. "Get me Admiral aboard the Omega Fleet," ordered. The display showed the bridge of the Council's most powerful warship. Admiral was a massive with 4 arms and scales like armor plating. He had led the Omega Fleet for 50 years and had never lost a battle. "High Counselor," snarled, "what is happening? We're receiving reports of attacks throughout the galaxy." "The humans have revealed their true strength," said. "How quickly can you reach Earth?" 4 hours at maximum speed, but if we turn around now, we can reinforce the home systems." "No," said firmly. "Destroy Earth. Once their home world is gone, their fleet will have no choice but to surrender." "Sir, with respect, their fleet is currently destroying everything we have. Perhaps we should reconsider." Admiral never finished his sentence. Behind him, reality tore open like a wound in space. Human ships poured through the opening directly into the center of the Omega Fleet. Watched in stunned silence as the Council's greatest military force was torn apart in front of his eyes. The human ships moved like nothing he had ever seen. They phased in and out of normal space, appearing behind Council vessels and vanishing before return fire could hit them. Their weapons ignored energy shields that had protected Council ships for. One human vessel fired a swarm of tiny objects at a Council dreadnought. The objects looked like metal insects, and they covered the huge ship in seconds. Then they began to consume it, turning its hull into more of themselves. Within a minute, the entire dreadnought had been converted into a cloud of mechanical that turned on nearby Council ships. Another human ship fired a beam that passed harmlessly through 5 Council vessels before striking the 6th. That ship exploded, not from weapons fire, but because every atom in its hull suddenly decided to occupy the same space at the same time. "Probability manipulation," whispered. "They're rewriting the laws of physics." Admiral was screaming orders, but his voice was lost in the chaos. The Omega Fleet, which had destroyed dozens of worlds over the centuries, was being annihilated by an enemy they couldn't even hit consistently. "Sir," the communications officer said, his voice breaking, "Admiral's flagship has been destroyed. The entire Omega Fleet is gone." Stared at the display, 200 ships, gone in less than 5 minutes. "How many human casualties?" he asked weakly. "Unknown, sir. Our sensors cannot get reliable readings on their vessels, but based on observed damage, possibly none." None. The humans had just destroyed the Council's entire military might without losing a single ship. "High Counselor," Ethereal Prime said urgently, "we must surrender immediately before they come here." But it was too late. The lights in the council chamber flickered, and felt a sensation he had not experienced in thousands of years. Fear. "Sir," the communications officer said, his voice barely audible, "there are human ships surrounding Nexus Prime." On the display, massive human warships were emerging from quantum-fold space all around the Council's capital station. They had traveled instantly from battlefields throughout the galaxy to appear here, in the heart of Council power. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer reported. The display showed the bridge of a human warship. A man in a simple military uniform looked out at them with cold, tired eyes. Admiral Stone. "High Counselor," he said calmly. "I am Admiral Stone of the Human Defense Force. You have exactly 30 seconds to surrender unconditionally, or this station, and everyone on it will be destroyed." His crystal form blazed with desperate anger. "You cannot do this. The Council has maintained galactic peace for." "You declared genocide against my species," Stone replied. "You sent a fleet to murder every human being in existence. Did you really think we would just accept that quietly?" "We can negotiate," said desperately. "There must be some arrangement we can make." Admiral Stone's expression didn't change. "You had your chance to negotiate. You chose extermination instead. Time's up." The transmission ended. Outside Nexus Prime, human ships began to glow with building energy. "Wait," screamed at the empty display. "We can discuss terms. We can reach an understanding." But there was no one listening anymore. 7 minutes after the first human ships had appeared, the Galaxy Council's reign of power came to an end. Nexus Prime and every Council fleet in the galaxy ceased to exist, consumed by weapons that turned matter itself into energy. The war was over before most people in the galaxy even knew it had begun. 3 days after the destruction of Nexus Prime, the galaxy was in chaos. On 1,000 worlds, alien species that had lived under Council rule suddenly found themselves free. Some celebrated, others panicked. Many didn't know what to do at all. Ambassador Sarah stood on the bridge of the human flagship Terra's Hope, watching through the viewports as construction ships worked to build a new space station. It was smaller than Nexus Prime had been, and it looked completely different. Where the Council station had been all crystal spires and alien grandeur, this one was built from practical human metals and composites. "Nervous?" asked Admiral Stone, walking up beside her. "Terrified," Sarah admitted. "We just destroyed the government that ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Now everyone's looking at us to fill that role." "Are you ready for the broadcast?" Sarah nodded. In 10 minutes, she would address every species in the galaxy. Her words would shape the future of interstellar civilization. "What if we're making a mistake?" she asked. "What if humanity isn't ready for this kind of responsibility?" Admiral Stone was quiet for a moment, looking out at the stars. "The Council ruled through fear and force," he said finally. "They kept other species weak so they could stay strong. We're going to do things differently." "How can you be so sure?" "Because we're human," Stone said simply. "We don't want to rule others. We just want to protect our families and build a better future." A communications officer approached them. "Ambassador, we're ready for the galactic broadcast." Sarah walked to the center of the bridge, where cameras were set up to record her message. When she spoke, her words would be transmitted to every inhabited world in the galaxy. "This is Ambassador Sarah speaking for the Human Federation," she began. 3 days ago, the Galaxy Council declared their intention to commit genocide against the human species. They sent fleets to destroy our worlds and murder our children. In response, humanity defended itself. On worlds throughout the galaxy, alien beings watched and listened. Many of them had never seen a human before. They knew only that these strange creatures had somehow defeated the mighty Council in a matter of minutes. The Council believed that only the strong should rule and that everyone else should serve, Sarah continued. They were wrong. Strength should protect, not oppress. Technology should help, not harm, and no species has the right to decide whether another species should live or die. In the ruins of what had been Council space, survivors watched the broadcast on emergency channels. The few Council ships that had been away from the main fleets during the attack found themselves alone, their commanders and home worlds gone. Humanity has no desire to rule over other species, Sarah said. We believe that every intelligent race has the right to determine its own future, to explore, to grow, to dream of better tomorrows. She paused, looking directly into the camera. But we will not allow any species to threaten others with extinction. We will not permit slavery, genocide, or the oppression of the weak by the strong. If you seek to harm others, you will face the same fate as the Council. On Prime, the surviving war leaders gathered in their great hall. Without the Council's protection, they faced rebellion from species they had oppressed for centuries. Some called for revenge against humanity. Others pointed out that the humans had not attacked there, even though they easily could have. On the machine world of the constructs, electronic minds calculated new probabilities. The humans had shown technology beyond anything the constructs had imagined. More importantly, they had shown restraint. They could have destroyed every Council world, but they had targeted only military assets and leadership. We offer friendship to all peaceful species, Sarah continued. Trade, cooperation, and mutual respect. Help with problems that no single world can solve alone. Protection for those who cannot protect themselves. She gestured to the viewport behind her, where the new station was taking shape. This station will serve as a meeting place for all species who wish to participate in galactic civilization. But unlike the old Council, participation will be voluntary. Leave whenever you want. Govern yourselves however you choose. We ask only that you respect the same rights for others. On the flower world of the petals, the plant-like beings rustled in their garden cities. They had voted for humanity's extinction out of fear of change. Now they realized that change had come anyway, and it was gentler than they had expected. To the survivors of the Council species, Sarah said, her voice softening slightly, you are not our enemies unless you choose to be. Your leaders made the decision to commit genocide. That does not make every member of your species guilty. You are welcome to participate in building a better galaxy. Admiral Stone watched from the side of the bridge. He had commanded the fleets that destroyed the Council, but he took no joy in it. Humans were warriors when they had to be, but they preferred to be builders. We know that many of you are afraid, Sarah said. For thousands of years you lived under the Council's rule. You don't know what freedom looks like. That's okay. We'll figure it out together. On a dozen worlds, refugee fleets prepared to return home. Species that had been driven from their original systems by Council expansion policies began making plans to reclaim what had been taken from them. There will be those who test our resolve, Sarah warned. Pirates who think the galaxy has become weak, warlords who want to carve out their own empires, species who believe might makes right. To them, we say this clearly. Humanity has shown mercy to those who did not threaten us. We will show no mercy to those who do. The broadcast continued for another 20 minutes. Sarah answered questions that had been submitted by governments across the galaxy. She explained human policies on trade, territorial disputes, and technology sharing. She outlined the structure of the new galactic community. When it was over, Sarah slumped into a chair, exhausted. How do you think it went? She asked Admiral Stone. Better than I expected, he replied, though I suspect some species will need more convincing than others. Sir, a communications officer interrupted, we're receiving responses from across the galaxy. Over 300 species have requested membership in the new galactic community. And how many have declared hostility? Sarah asked. 17, sir. Mostly warlord groups and pirate fleets. Nothing we can't handle. Admiral Stone nodded. 17 hostile groups out of hundreds of species was better than he had hoped. Most of the galaxy seemed willing to try humanity's way of doing things. "There is one more thing," the communications officer said. "We've received a message from the Drifter Collective. They want to thank us." Sarah smiled. The Drifters had been the only council species to vote against humanity's extinction. It was good to know they were still alive. Over the following weeks, the new galactic community began to take shape. Species that had been enemies under council rules started talking to each other. Trade routes reopened. Scientific cooperation began. And in a small office aboard the new station, Admiral Stone kept watch over it all. On his desk was a simple plaque with words that had become the unofficial motto of human space. "Don't make the humans angry. You really wouldn't like them when they're angry." But beneath that, in smaller letters, were words that better represented humanity's real nature. "We are gardeners among the stars. We help others grow." The galaxy was free, and for the first time it had protectors who asked for nothing in return except the chance to build something better together. The age of human stewardship had begun.